It's suicidal empathy.
Yeah.
It's suicidal empathy. It's a perfect example of suicidal empathy. You know, there's some crazy people that think that they're crazy men or women that think they're the opposite. And instead of just being like, hey, shut the fuck up, that's retarded, they just say, oh, well, let's just go along with it because, you know, who cares? Suicidal empathy.
It's very true.
Because the feelings in the moment override the overall outcome of what is to be, which is just lies and delusion and chaos. And now
All right. So, starting things off. I'm showing one of our clips because remember when I was talking about how fucking when the Democrats were just throwing everybody under the bus but the Minnesota fraudsters?
yeah.
Well, here's fucking Anna Presley mentioning George Santos. So listen to this.
Fraud Prevention Committee. Let's walk through these pardons for fraudsters. We all care about fraud. So Ms. Robbins, Mr. Hudson, and Ms. Rarick, Donald Trump pardoned George Santos, who defrauded voters and owed them $370,000 in restitution to victims. Raise your hand if you oppose this pardon.
So, all right, we got that.
Yeah.
And then George Santos was on Jim Norton's podcast, and he brought this up. So here's that clip.
Because they're not true. Okay, maybe at one point in life she might have said some stuff that were maybe off-putting.
Right now he's talking about
That's
Marjorie
what
Taylor Greene.
better. Like we all say stupid shit. Have you ever said stupid shit?
Honestly, no. No, of course. Of course, it's all on the record for 20 years on the radio.
Me too. I say stupid shit on the record all the time, and then I have to look back. Like for instance, today I got a little angry. Right. On my way here, I saw a video of Ayanna Presley, one of the squad members from Massachusetts, the black bold one.
Oh, yes.
So the bald one.
Delightful
lady,
yes.
Delightful bitch from Massachusetts. So moment of rage and seeing her use me as a prop to deflect and obfuscate from the fraud in Minneapolis. I was like, you know what, Rep Alopecia, thanks for using a good picture. Fuck you, Ayanna. Seriously. And I'm now like, it's probably going to stick. I'm only going to call her Rep Alopecia from now on.
You should.
Because you want to be to me. I'm going to be a bitch right back. Yeah. I mean, that's my brand. I'm a troll. So it's like, why? Keep my name out of your mouth. I left that boring, dreary place called Congress.
Yeah.
It's so tacky.
And it is funny how people don't read certain things. Like this new Mamdani's, I love that this.
So, yeah, isn't that funny? Because when we were talking about it, like these people are probably watching go, why the fuck is she talking about me right now?
Yeah.
You know? But that was actually a very good podcast with Jim Norton and that guy, fucking, what's his name? George Santos. He actually, he went to jail for fraud and then I guess now he's like fighting against like the jails because of how poorly he was treated in jail.
Yeah.
Like the conditions, he said like there were cans of soup that were like 2 years expired that they were feeding people and shit.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And he was like, if I'm somebody who's coming from government with the connections I have, and they treated me that poorly. Imagine like what they treat normal people.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
wild,
know.
right?
Yeah, but there's a documentary on that, isn't there? We watched it years ago. What was it? I know it was Michael Moore when he was talking about the prison systems. It wasn't specifically about the prison systems.
That was that Capitalism a Love Story?
I think so.
I think so too.
But I mean, the prison systems, I mean, this is a whole conversation in itself, but
Yeah, private prisons.
yeah, I mean, private prisons in America, the fact that we got like over 2 million people locked up right now is like fucking wild, but conversation for another podcast, I guess.
Yes, exactly. All right, so next we got some clips from the hearing that we had about the January 6th. I guess this hearing was about the pipe bomber. There's somebody who set pipe bombs outside the RNC
Yes.
and DNC. So these are just some highlights from that, and we'll go from there.
If you can't quit the P word, I want to let you know that Scripture tells us that successful.
Mr. Raskin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So first, this is the only Democrat clip that I put up, just so you can see. But like the Democrats, all they're talking about is January 6th was the biggest terror attack this country's ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it looks like a new conspiracy theory is born. Originally, the pipe bomber was supposed to be an anti-Trump person, which is why the name wasn't revealed. Then that's out the window when it turns out it's a pro-Trump election denier. Well, then they were saying, no, it was an inside job. It was by a former Capitol police officer. That's out the window. That's not who the person was. So now I think the claim is, they got the person, yay for the FBI, hooray for Kash Patel. They got the person, but it took too long for them to do it. I mean, that's what the conspiracy theory has come to. I mean, this is just pathetic. Look, let's start with this. They tried to blame January 6th on Antifa on January 6th. Donald Trump did it himself in a conversation with Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy called him up from his office, desperate, saying we're being overrun. We're besieged here. You got to.
if I may say, can you move your monitor away from your microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, just push it away because I can hear myself. But knowing what we know now about Riot Inc., would it be that hard to believe that those J6 rioters were probably hired to riot?
Dude, I was literally just having this conversation with one of my liberal friends because she was asking me about January 6th, and I go, I don't think this is fully proven yet, but I mean, it has been proven that Democratic NGOs have been hiring protesters. There's a guy, I forget what his name is, but he goes around to every protest and knows the people by name.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Same people.
Yeah, it's the same people. Yeah.
So that's proven. That's 100% a fact. There's no denying that. Now, who's to say that they didn't do that at January 6th? And they were like, hey, listen, we're going to go here and we're going to cause a ruckus and make the Republicans look bad, make this movement look bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big publicity stunt.
Or just like they had just a small group of agitators there.
Yeah.
And that kind of like got everything going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Ray Epps, I've been saying this.
Yeah, they talked about him during this hearing.
Yeah. Oh, they do?
Yeah, I don't know if I have that clip, but they do talk about him during the hearing.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, just to touch upon that, I mean, that dude, you got dudes like, who was it? The shaman guy?
QAnon shaman?
I know he pled guilty and he did like 2 years. He probably had no choice but to fucking plead guilty. But Ray Epps is on video saying we need to go into the Capitol, spread the word, the word. We need to go into the Capitol. That dude just got probation.
Even when they showed video in this, I don't know if I have it on these clips, but because I watched the whole hearing while it happened, but they showed like when he left that like insurrection, he had escort of like 6 people around him.
Yeah.
and he was allegedly there alone. But when it showed him leaving after all the chaos was happening, and he had 6 people surrounding him,
Yeah,
and,
and
like
I
they were
mean,
security.
not to mention at these protests, you see people unloading boxes of gas masks.
Mm-hmm.
Where did those come from? You see pallets of bricks being dropped off in the middle of the city during some of these protests / riots.
Yeah.
Where did those come from? Who paid for them? Who delivered them? You know, like, come
Mhm.
on, there's something organized going on here.
Yes, I agree.
Quite evident.
Call off, your people, Donald Trump. And Trump said, oh, it's not my people, it's Antifa. And McCarthy said, no. Effectively, he said, no, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, they're in my office, they're your people, Mr. President. And then Trump said, well, maybe they just care a little bit more about a fair election than you do, Kevin. Again, paraphrasing, but that's the sum and substance of the conversation. Immediately, they wanted to try to pin it on Antifa. I mean, that was the whole methodology. That's what Matt Gaetz did when he came to the floor, even after we were driven out of our chambers.
See, when this guy talks about like how he's just saying Antifa nonchalantly, it makes me think back to the other hearing I watched where that one black guy was like, well, where's this Antifa at? Where their headquarters?
Yeah.
And like he was trying to act like he didn't know what Antifa was. Did you see that clip I posted? And now this guy's just saying Antifa nonchalantly, this Democrat. It's like they say it when it's convenient to them. And then they play dumb, when fucking
by MAGA and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and other extremists who'd been called to storm the Capitol because you got to go and fight like hell, Donald Trump said. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. And they went to stop the steal. That was the slogan. They did exactly what they set out to do. And then they tried to blame it on Antifa. What a fraud it was. Was there any evidence, Mr. Romano, that Antifa was actually behind it? Did Donald Trump just pardon nearly 1,600 Antifa fighters? Is that what he did?
No, there was no evidence of that in the hundreds.
And this guy here, out of the people being questioned, this is the liberal who also thinks January 6th was like the biggest terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Of cases that I supervised, I saw no evidence that any person we charged was Antifa or was motivated or driven by Antifa.
Well, if it wasn't Antifa, surely it was undercover FBI agents who made all those people go out there and smash police officers in the face and storm the Capitol and try to overthrow the 2020 presidential election, right? What about the theory that this was really FBI sources? Undercover sources who did it.
I've seen no evidence of that. As I said before, there were informants who were present in the crowd, not at the direction of their FBI handlers. There were no undercover FBI agents directing the crowd. That is false information based on a statistic taken out of context.
All right. So essentially, what are our colleagues inviting us to believe today? Well, let's see. Ms. Hagman wants us to believe there was no insurrection, despite the fact that the House of Representatives voted that Donald Trump incited an insurrection. But she wants us to believe it didn't happen, despite the fact that you can find calls replete throughout the crowd and throughout the extremist groups calling for an overthrow of the government, calling for the assassination of Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi, calling for the killing of members of Congress. But no, that didn't happen. So they want us to believe that Trump and Giuliani and Sidney Powell and their associates didn't lie by claiming the elections were stolen. In other words, they want us to believe the original lie that set America off on this path of chaos and division. They want us to believe that Donald Trump actually won the 2020 presidential election, which he lost by more than 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College, with more than
probably 7 million Somali votes.
60 federal and state court decisions, including by 8 judges nominated to the bench by Donald Trump, rejecting and repudiating every claim of electoral fraud and corruption that Trump and his forces put forward in court. And they want to go back to it. They want us to believe that January 6th was provoked by the FBI. Even Director Patel said that was false. Even Patel rejects that one. They want to believe that the Capitol Police are responsible for hundreds of rioters attacking them. Sergeant Cannell, who fought in Afghanistan and said that he saw no violence abroad that remotely compared to the medieval mayhem and violence
shut the
unleashed on the police
fuck
officers
up.
that day, that
Medieval mayhem.
he was
Yeah.
at fault for it?
We're
Sergeant
comparing
Cannell, who had
the war in
to
Afghanistan
resign from the
to
force
January
because of
6th, people.
injuries
That's what we're
to
doing
his
right now.
rotator cuff, his shoulder, and his left foot because he couldn't any longer meet the physical demands of the job, that this is something that he wanted? These officers who've suffered brain contusions, heart attacks, strokes, Brian Sicknick, who died the next day after injuries inflicted on him by the mob, that this was somehow their fault? It's obscene. It's absurd. I certainly hope we can expect more out of this subcommittee than that.
Okay, your time
Mr.
is
Chairman, there are
expired,
some
sir.
lingering
Shut the
questions.
fuck up.
Most
sir,
of
your
them could
time
be
is
answered by Donald
expired.
Trump, who's
Yeah.
never once
But I believe he's the ranking member, so it's like his opening remark.
I see. Yeah.
testified under oath about what he did on January 6th, other than sit on his hands and probably order hamburgers and French fries while he watched the whole scene on TV unfold. Did nothing to send out the National Guard under his unilateral direct control in the District of Columbia. And if you don't believe me, look it up, Ms. Hagman. Look it up. The president controls the National Guard in the District of Columbia. I'll bet you a lunch with your former occupant of your office.
Even though Nancy Pelosi is on record by saying that she is the one who was in control and chose not to dispatch him.
Yeah.
Your predecessor, Ms. Cheney, who's somebody who brought great honor to this institution. And I'll tell you this.
And great.
And I tell you this. The truth is a resilient thing. We're not going to put up with a pack of lies in this subcommittee and a bunch of conspiracy theories. We're not. We're not. So have at it. Throw what you want against the wall, but you better learn the first lesson they teach lawyers when you pass the bar. When you go to court, you better bring the evidence with you. Yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired.
1,500.
Yeah, so I put that
$100 a
I put
month
that
if you
in
also
there
take-
just so you can understand like the Democrat point of view throughout this hearing.
Yeah.
Because I don't put a lot of Democrat clips in there because they all say the same thing. It was like that the Minnesota fraud hearing. What did all the Democrats bring up?
Other
bad
fraud.
Trump, yeah, how bad other fraud or how bad Trump was. So let's keep this going.
First, clear up the OK sign. The OK sign is more predominantly just used to say OK, is it not, than it is for white supremacy?
Sometimes it is. Historically, yes, but
Historically-
sometimes it's
Even
used as
today,
white
a majority of the time, worldwide, it's not a white supremacist sign. Wouldn't that be true?
I don't know that I could speak to the majority of cases
All right.
now.
Let's
People
move on.
use it
I
less.
got so many things to ask. I've been concerned with this whole pipe bomb situation for some time, and I want to ask you some questions because as a prosecutor, I too, as Ms. Crockett just pointed out, was a criminal defense attorney. I too was a criminal defense attorney, and absent a confession, would you agree with me that with the evidence that we know that that the pipe bombs were allegedly planted by Mr. Cole on the night of January 5th, but we have the witness at the RNC who says they weren't there then, and we have the situation where the folks came through with the explosive sniffing dogs before the pipe bombs were supposed to be there, but before they were found and didn't hit on the pipe bombs. Wouldn't you agree that as a prosecutor, absent the confession by Mr. Cole, you'd have a hard time getting a conviction? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on the rest of the evidence, which I understand includes evidence of financial transactions that he engaged in, license plate reader hits, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but intending to do something and actually succeeding in doing it are two different things. And if you've got dogs and people saying the bombs weren't there when they were supposed to have already been planted by him, and he's confessed to planting them the night before, I think I win that one. Now, we can disagree about that and talk about it later. Let me ask you some additional questions, if I might. Were you ever advised as you were doing your investigations of any FBI agents on January 6, 2021, being inside the Capitol and observing the January 6 rioters?
I'm not sure what you mean. I wasn't aware of, nor did I see any evidence of FBI agents within the crowd or planted there, if that's what you're getting.
All right. How about FBI paid informants?
I understand there were people who had been signed up as informants by the FBI who went there, not at the direction of their FBI handlers, but individually. There were a small handful of such individuals.
And did you interview those individuals?
No.
And did anybody in your office interview those individuals?
They may have. I'm not certain, as I said here today.
And you didn't call any of those individuals as witnesses in any of the cases?
I did not. I, again, couldn't say that it didn't happen in any case, but I did not.
All right. And did anyone, while you were the prosecutor and working on this, did anyone bring you information regarding Congressman Barry Loudermilk?
No.
Did anybody bring you any information of any wrongdoing ever done by Congressman Barry Loudermilk?
No, I certainly didn't receive any evidence of wrongdoing by the chairman.
And if there was a thorough investigation and it one point mentioned that there might have been a problem, and then that final report didn't have any report saying that there was no problem, that might be an issue of contention, wouldn't you agree? Not that you agree with the premise, but that there could be an issue of contention there.
I think I'd have to know more about the service.
All right, I appreciate that. That being said, let me go to Mr. Piotta. We've heard all kinds of allegations, but how do you explain that the Patel FBI was able to identify a pipe bomb suspect once they put their attention to it within about 6 weeks, but the Ray FBI failed to identify a single suspect or make one arrest in 4 years? And what does that tell you about the way the investigation was handled? And why did it take so long for the Ray folks to even look at doing a pipe bomb investigation? Can you give me some insight on that?
Certainly. What you saw with the incoming leadership team.
Hey, it's like, who's the person wearing the football hoodie in the background?
Right?
You're going to Congress. Put a fucking shirt and tie on.
Yeah, I know. Put something on.
It's like this guy had to pick his kid up like on his way. Like
from Director Patel was a renewed focus, renewed energy, resourcing, and a new perspective on what they were looking for. Under the Ray FBI, this case was allowed to languish. It started to lose energy over time. There was a split of resources.
This guy has tattoos on his fingers.
Yeah, if you look in the background too, even before there's, I'm sure they'll talk to him again, but there's also another person with a murdered this person shirt.
Yeah,
I forget what her name is.
Yeah, I saw that. The woman who got
There's a
killed on
split of
January
attention.
2nd.
And what happened?
It looked like that happened within the first couple of months. Would that be standard at the FBI in a case of a pipe bomb being left outside the Republican National Committee headquarters and the Democrat National Committee headquarters? Does that make sense?
No, it's highly unusual, but they did have the larger events that happened on January 6th that they diverted attention, energy, resources to. So the headquarters senior leadership and the Washington Field senior leadership diverted their attention.
But wouldn't you have been concerned, because I certainly would be as a member of the Republican Party, for the Republicans and for my friends on the other side of the aisle at the Democrat headquarters, if somebody planted a bomb and they have no idea who it is, that there might be a repeat offense, and that we really ought to dig into that because both Republican lawmakers and Democrat lawmakers were at risk.
Absolutely. It was a public safety issue, and they failed to do that.
So it seems like an anarchist, if anything.
I think it was more than lack of focus. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
What guy? The guy
that planted the bombs. His name was like Cole or something, right?
Yeah.
Seems like an anarchist if he's planting them outside of both parties.
Both of them, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he just wants chaos.
The gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr.
Hey, it's Adam with Vantage.
Hey,
Adam. Mr. Griffith for 5 minutes.
Oh, what I just
Mr. Romano, let's first.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Wait, what did I just do? I'm sorry.
The gentleman yields. Virginia, Mr. Griffith for 5 minutes.
Mr. Romano, let's first clear up the OK sign. The OK sign is more predominantly.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've learned so far is that, there weren't FBI agents in the crowd, but there were FBI informants that were in the crowd, allegedly there on their own accord, but I don't believe that for a fucking second because
Yeah.
there would be no documentation or no proof that they were ever there if they did have directions to start causing a ruckus. We know that the FBI under James Comey is notoriously corrupt. We know that for a fact. I was actually just watching fucking the Michael Francesi Jubilee right before I came on.
How was that? I was like, wait,
I'm not
this guy's
done with it,
going
but
on.
he goes, James Comey should have arrested Hillary Clinton, and he didn't do that. That's cops breaking the law, you know.
So it was him against a bunch of cops, like him and 20 cops.
Yeah.
I saw the headline. I saw the thumbnail. And I'm like, all right, I feel like Jubilee is starting to really reach for straws now. Like, have they run out of like things to think of, like who against who? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now we're doing mobsters and cops, but was it good?
So far it's pretty good. Yeah, the Jubilees, that can be like either a hit or a miss.
Yeah.
That one was pretty good.
There's that other debate YouTube channel that they did one conservative Christians versus progressive Christians. It was pretty good.
Oh, okay.
You know that other one where they sit in like the darker room and they all face each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I forget the
Yeah,
name
they
of
have
it.
like prompts and then they all debate. Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's keep going.
I'm going to ask unanimous consent to enter the criminal indictment of
This guy, I don't know what his deal is. I usually like him, but at this hearing, I was listening to this on Thursday. He's like, I don't know, he must be on his meds or something, but he talks very slow.
Mr. Brian J. Cole as the defendant in the pipe bomb case.
Without objection.
Mr. Nance,
This guy's like, what the fuck did he
investigation
sound like right
of the
now?
pipe bomber that commenced under the Trump administration FBI seemed to be initiated just based upon a focused effort of leadership within the FBI to direct investigative assets and procedures to put, quote unquote, a new set of eyes on the existing evidence. That's where they intended to begin. They had no way of knowing that the evidence that they were already in possession of, that the FBI had been in possession of since 2021, would produce a relatively short list of potential suspects based upon cellular analytics of possible cell phone numbers that could have planted these bombs. They had no way of knowing that the evidence in their possession that they were going to put a fresh set of eyes on would produce a solid suspect and ultimately probable cause for an arrest. Their intention was to review the existing material so that they had a good investigative foundation to move forward with an aggressive investigation and to solve the pipe bombers case. Does that sound like the kind of solid leadership you would expect out of the FBI?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you would expect from, what we used to call our country's leading law enforcement agency.
Well, I concur. I think they're
well, I do concur, sire.
Reclaiming
He's so like Louisiana, is he not?
that recognition.
One guy fucking spit
And
it
that
out.
solving the pipe bomber case was quite significant. The cellular analytical data. Is it true that the FBI and our intel services has contractors that specialize in the collection of that data and the analytics of that data? And it's not necessarily a direct CAT FBI employees, but that the FBI itself uses contractors to provide some of that data as additional assets to the FBI's own CAT. Is that correct?
Yes, to a limited degree, yeah.
To a limited degree, would you say to a specialized degree?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So let me just clarify, Mr. Chairman, and for Americans watching, whistleblowers came forward. A particular whistleblower came forward in 2022 that is a specialized contractor for cellular analytical data that had initiated his own review of cell data after J6 happened and the J6 pipe bomb event was revealed to America, and that investigation was ongoing. And this whistleblower identified telephone numbers and provided them to the FBI, and we're advised to the original J6 Select Liz Cheney committee, subcommittee, the Select Committee. And that data went nowhere. I ask again, Mr. Nance, Mr. Speciale, good sir, Mr. Pierhota, how is it possible that the FBI could be that inept? Would you say that it's reasonable to suspect that there was a purposeful intent to ignore the evidence that they were in possession of? Or is it more likely that the FBI was that inept?
Man, is anybody fucking paying attention?
I think it's a matter of narrative. I think the controlling narrative at the time,
Yeah, this guy's brutal.
was that the threat to the American people was coming from the RMVE threat, the white supremacist threat. That was the constant.
Well, how would they know without analyzing the data if it wasn't a mega Republican? How would they know? Because that's how they identified alleged white supremacist domestic terrorists. If you were a mega guy, a mega American, you were in that category. So how would they know it was not a mega guy?
I like how we say mega, like MEGA.
Yeah.
Unless they had analyzed the data.
Well, it's possible that they knew that Cole, perhaps in late 2021, was a black male individual from Woodbridge, Virginia, that did not fit that narrative.
You agree that that's possible?
It is possible, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I find that to be a reasonable and disturbing suspicion. And to my friend and colleague, the ranking member, I would suggest it's not a conspiracy theory, if it turns out to be true. So we shall see.
The gentleman yields, Mr.
I was dead and now I'm alive.
Yo, friggin', he started to at least pick it up a little bit at the end there.
Yeah. That Dayquil was starting to kick in.
The what?
The Dayquil.
Yeah.
From Wyoming.
Ranking member indicated that the first lesson that you teach lawyers is you better bring the evidence with you. But another lesson that we learn is that you should also know the elements of the crime and the relevant statute if you're going to claim that somebody committed a crime. It's a pretty slimy tactic to use the word insurrection over and over and over and over and over again, and yet try to hide the fact that the gentleman who's sitting here before us today, who was responsible for prosecuting many of the people on January 6th, never once charged anybody with violating 18 USC section 2383. You never charged anybody with violating that statute. You never convicted anybody with violating that statute. So sitting here and using that word over and over again means absolutely nothing. We are here today focusing on the pipe bomb because...
Yo, that's nuts when you think about it. None of them were charged with insurrection.
Yeah.
But they call them insurrectionists.
For a long time, too, since the get-go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nuts. And none of them were charged with insurrection.
Of what happened that day, it clearly played a pivotal role in facilitating the breach of the Capitol, and we need to get to the bottom of what happened there. These devices were discovered outside the RNC and DNC within 20 minutes of the joint session, and the U.S. Capitol Police were forced to defy the forces while a crowd of protesters moved towards the Capitol. The U.S. Capitol Police was not dealing with just the force division, but also with the fact that 500 bike racks had been removed the night before. Who ordered the removal of the 500 bike racks and why? The staff of the architect of the Capitol testified that the evening of January 5th, roughly around the time the pipe bombs were allegedly planted, the order came down to remove 500 bike racks from around the Capitol. Mr. Pajota, can bike racks help law enforcement with crowd control and deterrence?
Absolutely. They form a physical barrier between the crowd and a protected location, or they can be used to help funnel a crowd to or from a location.
Well, can they also serve as a visual cue for non-law enforcement personnel about what lines they are not allowed to cross? And could removing them spell legal jeopardy for protesters who cannot identify what is the line of trespass?
It creates ambiguity for the public. They don't know where those barriers are.
Hey, look at this guy behind here. Did you see that?
No, what was he doing?
He was giving the thumbs up. Look at this kid. This little punk.
Pass.
It creates ambiguity for the public. They don't know where those barriers are.
And did this actually result
He's
in
gonna get
legal
removed.
jeopardy for many of the people who were on the
He is fucking grounded when he gets home.
Capitol grounds on January 6th?
It ended up that way.
Okay. According to the Select January 6th Committee's final report, quote, at 1:28 p.m., the U.S. Capitol Police requested the AOC to deliver 400 additional bike racks to the East Front to serve as protective barriers. Even though rioters were using bike racks as weapons, the pipe bomb discovery at the DNC prevented the AOC from delivering them, end quote. Clearly, the Capitol Police viewed the bike racks as a necessary tool for that day, and their removal is absolutely baffling. And this subcommittee should focus on identifying who gave that order, why, when, who was involved. We need to get to the bottom of this. And the previous January 6th committee didn't look into it. They're not the ones who actually investigated what happened here and why. This statement is also clear that the impacts of the pipe bombs continue to be felt by the U.S. Capitol Police officers responding to the incident. And Mr. Pajota, does this raise even more questions about why the Ray FBI did not take this pipe bomb investigation seriously?
The Ray FBI did not prioritize this investigation. Again, I think their resources and their attention was split into the other events of January 6th. And over time, what we saw was I would say, a weak or inept case management approach where this investigation eventually stalled.
Okay. Mr. Especial, do you have anything that you would like to briefly add to the discussion today?
I think that probably the biggest takeaway in all of this is that there are 1,600 American citizens that were baited into a trespass trap to a great extent. Yes, certainly, absolutely, some of them were violent, and investigations and prosecutions were warranted. But I have an estimate that it was almost $1 billion that was spent on prosecuting American citizens. It's a lot of money that we spent on trying to prosecute patriotic American citizens. And then you add on top of that the thousands of American citizens that, like myself, that were also weaponized against in order for deterrence purposes, all the tactical resources. It was really a terror campaign. I would refer you to the National Counterterrorism reports available on my website, and it's highlighted where they want an FBI domestic terrorism statute, quote, for deterrence purposes. They want to be able to silence free speech. They did that with all of this. And, the cause, bottom line is 51 intelligence officers memo, Hunter Biden laptop. It's all these things where the American citizens that showed up that day were at their wits' end on having faith in their government. And they were vulnerable. As I warned, they were vulnerable.
Well, and I think Hunter Biden is a good name to bring forward when you talk to with Mr. Romano here when we talk about the appropriateness of pardons. Mr. Nance, do you have anything to very briefly add?
I think one of the biggest things that the American people need to take away from this is the understanding that how
Holy
they
shit!
take
Wait a
away
second.
from this.
That's just an old guy sitting behind him. That's not even a kid.
Yeah, and the other one is too. And there's a dude with a backwards hat. There's some characters sitting in the
What
back
the
there.
fuck? Yeah. This guy, they were like, "You're not coming in here unless you put this suit jacket on." Look at him.
Yeah.
My God.
Is the understanding that how dangerous narrative-led investigations can be. Because I think what we have going on here in large measure are narratives driven by the Biden White House through the Garland DOJ. And these are, of course, communications happening, headquarters to headquarters. And Director Wray, as any leader can present the commander's intent without explicitly doing so. So if he's getting communications from his boss, who is the Attorney General, that the narrative needs to be, we need to prioritize and stick with the J6 insurrection narrative, the pipe bomber narrative, or the pipe bomber investigation, in my opinion, was deprioritized because of that narrative coming from potentially the White House.
Well, I appreciate your testimony. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to expose this. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman from
Local tax experts are here.
That's pretty nuts. What do you think so far, Lucas?
Yeah, that's so. What was that little bit about AOC and those bike racks? She was supposed to be in charge of delivering 400 more or something.
They had him removed the night before.
AOC did?
I think AOC was the organization. I don't think it was actually Ocasio-Cortez. I don't
Yeah.
think it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I misheard. I'm like, this fucking bitch.
Fucking bitch. What is she doing? Like, yeah.
Well, not for nothing. I mean, one thing, she lied about being there that night. Remember how she was saying, like, I could hear people. I was hiding in the fucking whatever.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they proved that she wasn't even there that night.
Really?
Or at least conservative pundits did,
That's hilarious. What a bitch. All right, let's
Fucking
keep this
bitch.
going. Oh, yeah, boom.
Okay, so maybe this is something the current FBI could tackle. I've exceeded my time, and we'll begin our second round. And the chair recognizes Mr. Nels.
Hey, thank you, sir. I was running out of time, but I finished talking about that first breach. This entire document is about Donald Trump. It's about blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump commanded, he ordered his followers to go to the Capitol to storm the Capitol. I find it interesting because the first breach occurred 20 minutes before Trump's speech ended. Why would Trump supporters leave a Trump speech and breach the Capitol grounds before the speech ever ended? I've been to rallies, this and that. When the boss is up there speaking, nobody leaves early. Nobody
especially
leaves
Donald
early.
Trump.
I tell you why, because there was never a call to violence. There was never a call to violence or a call to storm the Capitol. That was something the militia groups are craving and created on their own. The Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Antifa, 3%ers, bad actors that day, gotta say it, bad actors. They were acting alone and not listening to Trump. Stewart Rhodes stated that if Trump didn't do what they wanted, they would have to do it themselves. The January 6th resulted from a gross failure of intelligence, not the actions of Donald Trump. Capitol Police Assistant Chief Yogananda Pittman was in charge of the intelligence division of the U.S. Capitol Police in days leading up to January 6th and produced a report, the January 3rd Special Event Assessment, and stated, quote, Congress itself is the target on January 6th, and, quote, protesters may be inclined to become violent, and, quote, there have been some worrisome calls for protesters to come to these events armed. Another quote, the sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent, end quote. Even worse, Pittman testified to the Senate that she had shared the appropriate intelligence with the assistant and deputy chiefs of the Capitol Police, which is unconditionally false. It was never sent or shipped.
Did you see this kid right here? Did you see that?
No, I see his face now, though.
Watch. So he gets a text from somebody like across the room.
Pittman testified to the Senate that she had shared the appropriate intelligence with the assistant and deputy chiefs of the Capitol Police, which is unconditionally false. It was never sent or shared. Why can I say that? I can say it with certainty because if you look at Harry Dunn,
Hey,
Officer
you
Harry
sure about
Dunn's
that?
testimony
Yeah.
in the previous committee, he states that he believed that January 6th would just be like any other day. He had no independent reason to believe that there would be violence. And in his own words on July 27, 2021 testimony, Harry Dunn stated he thought there was going to be peaceful protests and received no threat warning from the chain of command. So the question is, who lied? Harry Dunn, you're lying, or Yogananda Pittman, who's got a nice job. Pelosi gave her a nice job there in California. So now we know why the Capitol Police were so ill-prepared. We know why. Assistant Chief Yogananda Pittman never shared the intel. Now let's talk about the deployment of the National Guard. In order for the Capitol Police to request outside assistance, the 3 members of the Capitol Police Board must declare an emergency. But this wasn't done. Went until very late. Isn't it interesting? There is not a single word in the report from any of the 3 voting members on the board. How could there not be? Finally, the subject of this hearing, the pipe bomb, only mentioned, guess what? 5 times in this appendix. It's in the appendix at the end of the report, even though the pipe bombs were by far the most serious thing that occurred that day, as they could have killed many people, the VP, the Vice President-elect, United States.
Was that you clicking like, Lucas?
Yeah. Why, did you get a notification?
Oh yeah, it went right up on StreamYard immediately.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to share the live stream.
The previous committee nor the FBI cared. They didn't care about it all. Understand the effect of the discovery of the pipe bombs in the timeline. The first pipe bomb was reported to law enforcement at 12:42 p.m., which drew half of the police away from the Capitol building. The officers began arriving 2 minutes later at 12:44. Then the bike rack perimeter is breached minutes later at 12:53. Now that security at the Capitol has been softened. It's smart. This was organized. This was an operation.
Maybe that was intentional then. The pipe bombs. Maybe the pipe bombs really didn't have the intent to explode, but the intent was to divert most of the police away from the protest itself.
Mm-hmm.
They're at least the main part of it.
Very well orchestrated.
12:59. 6 minutes later, Congress convenes to certify the election. It's a very interesting that the pipe bomb is reported just minutes before the joint session convenes. Here's the key the American people need to understand. The FBI, Patel's FBI, didn't get any new information. No new information to find the pipe bomber. They had all the evidence to identify him and had been in possession of Christopher Wray's FBI for the entire Biden administration. It's extremely bizarre, folks. It's bizarre because the January 6th investigation was the largest and most extensive in the history of the FBI. This is the article. The Wray FBI aggressively pursued and charged nearly 1,600 individuals in all 50 states, including elderly individuals who committed no acts of violence. They identified and tracked these people down, breakneck speed, using every tool at their disposal, left no stone unturned when we had an FBI whistleblower disclose to us that they were even pulling agents off of porn cases, child porn cases, so they could catch trespassing grandmas. But for the pipe bomber, there was comparatively no effort to find this person. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record of today's hearing the CNN article titled "Biggest Investigation in FBI History" still has Merrick Garland in the hot seat.
Without objection.
And I'd also like to enter into the record, this is good to help my colleague from Texas on the other side that talked about impeachments. November 6, 2024, Trump is elected, the Los Angeles Times, Trump is elected the 47th president, soundly defeating Harris to retake the White House. This is a beautiful one
Without
here.
objection.
Everybody read it. I yield back.
The gentleman.
I mean, like, you're not allowed to put troll articles in to the record. Like,
yeah.
Yes, the gentleman from Maryland.
See where we're at. All
Thank you, Mr.
This is the last one for this hearing. We're bringing it back to
Chairman.
the slow Cajun.
Mr. Speciale, you can take great honor to know that Mr. Moskowitz would have treated you with much more kindness had you been an illegal appearing before this committee.
What'd he say?
The Democrat before him grilled that one of the whistleblowers or the people who were getting fucking questioned. So what he just said to him was, that guy probably would have treated you a lot nicer if you weren't illegal.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
Yeah, look.
The Moskowitz would have treated you with much more kindness had you been an illegal appearing before this committee.
That's a lie, but
Mr.
okay.
Romano. Mr. Romano, have you been deposed by this committee, sir?
No, not by this committee.
Would you be willing to participate in a deposition by this committee?
Absolutely.
That's going to happen. Mr. Chairman, the COVID era government oppression was very real and impacted American citizens. Our freedom to travel the land was greatly restricted. Our freedom to congregate, our freedom to worship, our freedom to speak. The government oppression that America suffered in the COVID era leading up to the November election cycle of 2020 was unprecedented. The Biden FBI did penetrate legitimate First Amendment communications and groups of American patriots who had the audacity to object to government oppression. The Biden FBI, trained to manipulate and agitate, did foment rage within these groups of American patriots. The November 2020 election cycle was compromised. The Biden FBI did have undercover agents and confidential informants embedded within the rally crowds on J4, J5, and J6. And the Biden FBI did conspire to entrap MAGA Americans prior to J6 and then successfully entrapped several hundred Americans on J6. The Biden FBI and DOJ did unrighteously persecute, arrest, and imprison entrapped Americans. The FBI Director Wray did lie to Congress repeatedly about all of this abhorrent government oppression against the American people. President Trump did rightfully pardon the Americans who fell prey to the Biden FBI and DOJ. And within months of his inauguration, the Trump FBI did identify and arrest the J6 pipe bomber suspect using only the evidence that had been in the possession of the Biden FBI since 2021. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to present for the record a letter dated January 11th, 2021.
Imagine this guy being like a jujitsu coach and watching him have to talk about technique.
Yeah, holy shit.
I'd be fucking... That'd be one where I definitely doze off. They'd be like, all right, partner up. And I'd be like, oh, man, what did he even just fucking say?
Yeah, yeah.
To the administrator of TSA, signed by Benny Thompson, then chairman of Homeland Security Committee, and John Katko, the ranking member of Homeland Security Committee, a renowned moderate New York leaning liberal Republican, now gone from Congress, identifying Trump supporters as insurrectionists and suggesting efforts by the TSA to disrupt the travel of white supremacists and other domestic terrorists, to quickly deny air carrier services to individuals identified as members of those groups, and to encourage efforts to identify and add to watch lists the perpetrators and members of American organizations that had the audacity to challenge the narrative that was presented under the COVID era and the oppression that the American people suffered.
Without objection.
Mr. Nance,
keep that same
regarding
energy, buddy.
drawing from your expertise, long-standing with the FBI, can you find any reason, good sir, that the FBI would not have solved the pipe bomber crime based upon the evidence in their possession, including cellular analytics, that we were advised by whistleblowers that under 200 possible cell numbers were identified and presented to the FBI and the illegitimate J6 original Liz Cheney committee. Why did the FBI not solve that crime, good sir?
Well, I think the rapidity of the Patel administration or directorship in solving this case demonstrates exactly why the Ray FBI failed to do so. I mean, as has been stated before, this was a matter of leadership. I think this is also a matter of messaging. I think that, and people need to understand the relationship between DOJ and the FBI, that the FBI investigates criminal activity, or should be, and DOJ conducts prosecutions.
But how could the FBI be that inept? I just ask you that. To me, I believe it was purposeful.
Something was
I
going
believe they
on.
identified their suspects in the under 200 numbers, and none of them fit the profile of the so-called alleged white supremacist mega activists, so they stepped away from that investigation. I believe that there's no way they could be that inept. Mr. Chairman, my time has expired, but my passion on this subject has not.
Yo, his handler has to get his levels correct.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's too up
The
and
gentleman
down.
is yielded back. The chair notes that there is a lot of passion regarding this topic. And it is something that's passionate on both sides of the aisle here. And our objective, my objective in this committee, is to get to the truth of, without political bias, of what happened. And the question remains, how did the previous FBI go 5 years without even a lead, using the exact same data? No exception. I've talked to the FBI agents that
I just discovered a
All right, so that's what we had for that. And now this one, it's just two highlights from another Senate hearing they had. They were like cutting this budget on fucking Medicare. Some type of medical budget was being cut where abortion fucking pills weren't,
Oh, I see.
some bullshit. But the highlight is this one fucking dumb chick, and you're
gap
about
in my
to-
financial plan that nobody
about
told
to
me
see.
about for 12 years. And once you
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Trinan.
Senator Moody.
Thank you, Chairman Cassidy, for convening this important hearing. As one of only a few mothers of school-aged children in the Senate, the safety and well-being of women and children is very important to me. I was disheartened to hear after the brave story of my colleague sharing that he was indeed adopted and that his birth mother was pressured to get an abortion and she bravely refused and carried him to term and gave him up for adoption, that was referred to as gaslighting. It's very hard for me also to sit here as someone who has been in the legal world and seen the horrific stories that have come to light about coercive abortions, that is gaslighting. I would ask my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to refrain from using that language because there have been very serious incidents where women and their children were harmed. And that is not gaslighting, that is fact. And I'm also disheartened that we heard, as we bring up the instance of men or even some women crushing up these abortion drugs and giving them to people surreptitiously in order to end a life, that we should tolerate this new trend in crime, in murder, because as one of my Democratic colleagues just put it after referring to these instances as gaslighting, because, and I'm quoting my Democratic colleague, coercion of abortions is long-standing
Coercions of
part of human
abortion.
history.
Coercion of abortion.
That is unacceptable. And in fact, when I was Attorney General in Florida, just a year or so ago, a woman in Florida got an abortion drug from out of state as part of a plot to kill her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend's child
That's fucked up.
in the womb.
That's fucking nuts. But you know what? Not a surprise.
I wouldn't put it past a woman to do something fucking wild like that.
Yeah, chicks are nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff isn't made up. When I was a judge in Florida, back before I was the attorney general in my hometown, a guy got an abortion drug, put a different label on the bottle, labeled as an antibiotic, and gave it to his former girlfriend and said, "You need to take this." And she did. And she had to testify at trial with a picture of a sonogram of that child.
Yo, I know a chick who fucking cheated on her boyfriend and got chlamydia, and there was a prescription she got for him, and she told him they were just 1-a-day pills.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1-a-day men's vitamins, and he took them with a smile on his face.
This is not gaslighting. This is
Did he ever
happening.
know?
I don't think so. It was Katie's friend, but I remember
Ah.
I remember her telling me about it, being like, "Wow, what a fucking whore."
Wow.
And as states are trying after Dobbs to come up with, as a people, what their laws are going to be, we here in Washington have to make sure that those laws that they come up with to prevent this kind of thing, to protect their people.
Now that I think about it, you've met that friend, the Italian chick, back when you were younger, when she was with Sergio, her friend there.
With the
What was her-
eyebrows?
Yeah, what was her name?
Oh, really? It was her, Brittany?
No, not Brittany, the one before Brittany. Brittany was the one that dated like musicians, right?
I don't know.
Danielle.
Oh.
Remember her friend Danielle?
If I seen her face, I probably would.
Yeah, if you saw, you had to have been a teenager when she was around.
Yeah. Damn. Fucking
Yeah.
hoa.
Fucking bitches be crazy.
She was
Are
a
not
hoa,
circumvented.
Tony, and she hit me.
Miss Verma, can men get pregnant?
Dr. Verma,
Oh,
I just
God.
want to make sure we're all
Dr. Verma,
addressing
can
each
men
other
get
with-
pregnant? As a doctor, give me your opinion. As a doctor, can men get pregnant?
Oh my God.
I
Oh my
mean, I'll
God.
move on to the next one. Doctor, can men get pregnant?
No.
I know you're a lawyer, an AG, like I was an AG. Can men get pregnant?
No.
Is there any reason why men should get their hands on the abortion drug?
None.
And are they getting their hands on the abortion drugs?
They are.
And are they getting them through the mail across state lines?
They are.
Even when it is illegal and the people have decided within states that they want to prevent that.
They are. And I would just add that that is because there is a concerted effort to prevent.
Look at the size of this guy's head.
Yeah, no shit. And his fucking
Jesus.
lips. He looks like
Jesus
a fish.
Christ. Look at the size of that head.
Looks like a guppy.
Any accountability and any human contact. So they go to anybody who asks for them. They do not identify now in many states the prescriber, the pharmacy, or the recipient. And so this is very dangerous. It is by design created that way in order to circumvent Dobbs.
Is it easy for men to get abortion drugs across state lines?
Extraordinarily.
In fact, I had staff members who said, "My name is Michael. How do I get abortion drugs?" Would it surprise you to know that there are all kinds of organizations ready to satisfy that whim of a man to get abortion drugs?
Sadly, it does not surprise me.
And not just in I know from working with you as fellow attorneys general, I know that you value life and you want to protect life and you're doing everything you can to do that. But in your role as a prosecutor that is protecting people and is meant to, and it is your job to enforce the people's laws to protect people, are men getting these drugs and using them to surreptitiously end life in their girlfriends, wives, lovers, etc.?
They are men and in some times parents and women. And in two of the cases that we are in fact prosecuting, shield laws are blocking our ability to do that. And I cannot understand why any governor would refuse our extradition papers so that we can prosecute someone who coerced their child to have an abortion.
Chairman Cassidy, I see my time has expired. I appreciate you for facing this issue head on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, to the other chick, you're retarded.
What's up?
I said, and to the other chick, you're retarded.
Oh, the other chick is the highlight of this whole thing. This is
Yeah,
our
the
last
fucking
clip.
Indian woman.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Senator Hawley. I think it's science-based, by the way.
There
that
we
men
go.
can't have
My dog.
babies, but that's going to be something. Senator Hawley, don't worry about it. Senator Hawley, that was it. Senator Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get pregnant?
many women that can get pregnant. I do
It's a
take
yes
care
or no
of
question,
people
you
that
fucking
don't
dumb
identify as
bitch.
women. that-
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you, you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes, no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes, no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence. And I'm asking you, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity.
Yeah, identity and
As
gender
a
are
medical
two different
professional
things.
and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
what you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question. It sounds like.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Oh my fucking
I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm
Oh
trying
my
to ask. I
fucking
think it
God.
is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men.
It also
We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic
person
issue.
in
I thought we were
general.
past all.
I love that. Taking you seriously as just a person.
Yeah,
in
how do you
general.
take them seriously just as I couldn't take them seriously as a cashier at Stop and Shop.
I know.
Yeah,
Like, you don't qualify for anything.
Yeah.
You qualify
That's
for
a-
the fucking loony bin.
She probably comes from a wealthy Hindu family that had slaves, and she had a very pampered life. And
Yeah, no
this is
shit.
what you get. This is what you fucking get. Where am I?
The
Boom.
caste system.
Well, this, frankly, I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients. And I don't think polarized language,
She's probably an only child.
language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American people.
It is not polarizing to say that there is a scientific difference between men and women. And I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing. That is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women as women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it is exceptionally clarifying. It is also in many ways quite depressing. I see that my time has nearly expired. I just want to thank the other witnesses for being here. Thank you for protecting women and children. Thank you for your valiant efforts. Thank you for following the science. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this hearing.
Senator also Brooks.
Never, ever.
So pause it real quick. And I don't know if we're going to get on trouble for YouTube for saying this. If you can't answer that question, you should kill yourself.
We probably will get in trouble if someone flags us.
You should. Well, you know what? Okay, so I take that back. I was just kidding. But, I'm joking entirely. You should kill yourself. I'm joking.
Well, I'm not joking when I say that woman is a perfect example on why our ancestors didn't allow them to vote.
Yeah. It's suicidal empathy.
Yeah.
It's suicidal empathy. It's a perfect example of suicidal empathy. You know, there's some crazy people that think that they're crazy men or women that think they're the opposite. And instead of just being like, hey, shut the fuck up, that's retarded, they just say, oh, well, let's just go along with it because, you know, who cares? Suicidal empathy.
It's very true.
Because the feelings in the moment override the overall outcome of what is to be, which is just lies and delusion and chaos. And now we got men in women's bathrooms and sports and fucking shit like that.
And that hearing was on
empathy.
And that hearing was on a abortion pill like that was in pill form that they were just letting men get.
Yeah.
Without like any.
Why are men getting women's drugs?
Yeah.
Why? What's up with that?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.